Hi everyone, hope you're okay. So I had a client come to me yesterday, new client, and he said, I've got this building that I want to build and I want it done cheap. I want it done as cheap as possible. So I had to ask him the question, what do you mean cheap? And he said, I want the cheapest quote possible. And I was like, okay, cheap isn't always best. You probably want best value for money, not cheap, because you might get a few tendering contractors and one of them's significantly cheaper than the rest, but they might have half the things that are required missing out of that tender. So you could look at the bottom line and think, well, this contractor is actually the cheapest contractor, but realistically, they're not the cheapest contractor because they're missing lots of items within it that are excluded or assumed which are not correct. And then your other contractors may actually be in a position where they've priced everything and they're offering you better value for money. If you go for the cheapest contractor, you could be in a position where by the time you finish the project, it's actually more expensive than some of the other contractors that tendered for it. So this is why it's really important to have a good tendering process, put out a good schedule of works, make sure everyone's pricing it correctly, make sure you've provided all the relevant details. And then it's really important to have a good tender analysis process. So you're analysing all the tenders, you can see what's assumed, you can see what's excluded, and you can see what it is you're actually getting for that money. So the cheapest quote may then not be the most viable one. It's one of them things where sometimes if you go for the cheapest quote, you can end up doing works twice, or people walk away because there's just not enough money in the job. So it's about value for money. It's not about cheap. It's about making sure that what you want can be done for the level of money that's being proposed. Now, it's always good to speak to professionals and find out what the actual build cost may be as an independent view, and being in a position where you can look at it and go, well, actually I'm getting good value for money here, so I'm not going with the cheapest quote, I'm actually going to go with the middle quote, or I'm going to go with this other quote because they're offering me better value for money, and I may be in a position where I have less hassle because they've included everything, and the project will run smoother. So it's not always about cheap, and I think people always look at the bottom line and go, I've had 3 quotes, 30, 40 and 50,000, so let's go for the 30k one because it's the cheapest one. But don't realise that it's got loads of stuff missing, and by the time you finish the project, you're at 60,000. So even the most expensive contractor or the highest contractor at tender period was cheaper than the quote that you're about to finish on, or the level of final account you're about to finish on. So it's really important to make sure you analyse everything correctly, and you don't necessarily go for cheap. Go for value for money, make sure you negotiate well, and make sure you think about the entire process and make sure everything's included. If you need any assistance putting a project out to tender, you've got any projects you'd like us to look at in terms of project costs, we're more than happy to do that. Please do not hesitate to contact us. Hope you're all okay. All the best. Speak to you soon.